All right, so this lecture is to supplement the reading that you're doing in the Norton Anthology for the introduction, the invention of writing, and also I don't feel like the book actually covers the epic poem in enough detail, so I give you a little more detail on that. So that's what this particular lecture is for. Now, the invention of writing, originally it wasn't invented for literature. The earliest written documents are actually commercial, for business. They're administrative for running bureaucracies, political for speeches, and then legal for laws. And these writings are created in Mesopotamia around 3300 BCE. The characters of the writing, which are pictographic, were inscribed on tablets of wet clay with a pointed stick and baked in the sun. By 2800 BCE, scribes began to use the wedge-shaped end of the stick to make marks instead of the pointed end to draw pictures, and this resulting script of the marks is known as cuneiform. And this was additionally used to preserve historical events and literature, so now the writing is being used for literature. Now, the Egyptian hieroglyphs emerged both from the cultures of Sumer and Egypt around the latter half of the 4th millennium BCE. And these are scribal cultures, meaning that the writing was an occupation for paid professionals, not something that most people could do. All right. Hieroglyphs is a Greek word for sacred carving, and hieroglyphs included both pictographs and signs that stand for sounds. Now, the Phoenicians, who were a Semitic trading people, they designed a script that consisted of 22 consonantal sounds with no vowels. So the form was adopted by the Hebrews and others, but it's difficult to pronounce because you're missing the vowels. Greek and Roman were actually adapted from this language. Now, the Epic of Gilgamesh, which you're reading this week, this was written on clay tablets in cuneiform script and around 2100 BCE. In the Mediterranean and the Near East, the earliest peoples to develop systems of writing again were the ancient Sumerians and the Egyptians, and in Sumerian cuneiform, the wedge-shaped markings inscribed on clay tablets that we have the Gilgamesh story recorded on. Now, that was the writing, the history of writing. Now, the epic poem. There's certain features to the epic poem, and unlike how the word is used today, like, oh, that was an epic movie, dude, that's not how we're using epic. Here it's a long narrative poem, and it will feature a single hero such as Gilgamesh or a group of heroes. A modern day epic would be The Lord of the Rings, and the group of heroes who travel with Bilbo Baggins to destroy the ring would be the epic heroes. So we have travelers like that. Many of the classic epic poems are based loosely on some historic event or on a war or actually on a conquest. So many times there's a heroic quest, as we see with the hero's journey. Many epics are based on legendary or mythical achievements, as we will see in the Anglo-Saxon tale of Beowulf when we finally get to Europe. And these myths, as we will discuss when we go deeper into the hero's journey, are central to the traditions and beliefs of a culture, many times central to the religious beliefs of a culture. So again, these epics developed prior to writing, so they're originally in an oral culture, because it's either prior to writing or, in the case of the Greeks, after writing was lost. So the Iliad and the Odyssey are oral because the Greeks lost the ability to write. And they arise because the people are considering in their historical, religious, and cultural heritage, and these epics help to explain and preserve that heritage. Many times the hero of these epics is semi-divine, such as Gilgamesh and, as we see, Achilles. Both of them are semi-divine beings. And he or she at least interacts with the gods, if not being semi-divine. They also may have some influence with the gods. The hero must perform difficult deeds. These are the ordeals that I spoke of in the hero's journey introduction. And when those ordeals are overcome, there is an effect on the normal people of the hero's society. This is the return and distribution of the magic elixir that was also mentioned in the hero's journey lecture. Now, Western epics have certain features, not always unique, but somewhat unique to them. They tend to be very long and elaborate, as you'll see with the Odyssey and the Iliad, very long. They tend to be episodic, so there's various episodes that go along, kind of like a TV show. They open with a formal invocation to the muse. So, we're asking the muse to give us divine creativity, right? The muse is the creative source of the universe. And there's extended similes. Something is like this, something is like that. These are known as epic or Homeric similes. And they can also begin with very long descriptive lists of certain devices, like maybe a long list of weapons or a long list of accomplishments of the hero, something like that. And finally, the most famous of epics are coming from Babylonian, which we're reading this week, the Epic of Gilgamesh. From the Sanskrit in India, we have the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. When we get there, we will find that they're still making comic books in India based on the Ramayana. It's still a story that's told throughout the country. And with the Greek, we have the Iliad and the Odyssey. So these are our most famous epics. And we will look at most of these as the class goes on. So hopefully you have a better understanding now of the invention of writing, have a better or more detailed understanding of what an epic poem actually is.